I know a lot of people are going to criticize me when I say this, but NASCAR kicks off the 2024 season this upcoming weekend in Las Vegas. We had Daytona and Atlanta already in the books, but those two races right there are super speedways, and anything can happen, and the results from both of those races are not going to indicate whether or not they're going to be contenders throughout the year, like Daniel Suarez and also William Byron, which I got a good feeling about Byron more so than Suarez. But the real season kicks off in Vegas at the mile-and-a-half track, in which today I am here to give y'all my predictions for that, and also the Formula One Bahrain Grand Prix. We're going the same style as always, my top three, my surprise, and my flop. And we're also doing a giveaway for this weekend because we all know the month of May is centered around the Indianapolis 500. And there is one NASCAR driver by the name of Kyle Larson participating in it. So I got his diecast, but even better, it is signed. So if you're wanting to win the Kyle Larson signed Indianapolis 500 doubleheader with the Coke 600 diecast, all you got to do is like and subscribe and then comment down below and then follow this X page right here. And once you do that, you're going to be entered, and I'll choose a winner by the end of the Las Vegas race weekend. So enough said here, and on to the intro we go.
I'm Chase Briscoe, driver number 14 Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing, and you're watching William Blackwell on YouTube.
Las Vegas, in my opinion, like I said in the intro, is practically the first race of the real 2024 NASCAR Cup Series season. And I believe the driver that is going to go to victory lane is going to be the one car of Ross Chastain. Last year when we went to Vegas, he was really competitive. He probably should have won at least one of the two races. And I believe this time around, he starts off the 2024 season on a high note. Because remember last year, Chastain came into the new season after having a spectacular year in 2022. His first year with Trackhouse Racing, making a Final Four appearance and whatnot. He was contending for race wins at the beginning of last year, but took himself out of contention for either getting too aggressive and trying to wreck the guy for the win and whatnot, and taking himself out in the process. So this time around, and we saw towards the end of last year where he kind of took a step back and calmed down when it racing for the lead, and it actually won him the Phoenix race at the end of the year, which is unheard of to win the championship race and not even be in the Final Four. Ross Chastain has entered the year looking pretty good, and I believe Vegas, he is going to win. So Ross Chastain punches his ticket into the NASCAR playoffs alongside teammate Daniel Suarez and also William Byron. And that will also mean Chevrolet starts off the year 3-0. And as a Ford fan, that right there is going to suck. But we just got to see what this new body has for also Ford and Toyota, because it could be really good at the mile and a half. Toyota, we really don't know what they're targeting. We know Ford is going after the mile and a half performance because last year they realized they had so much performance on the super speedways, and there's only 6 of them races on the schedule, and anything can happen there, and bodies really don't mean much in super speedways. So they kind of took a step back and put more into the mile and a half program, and I believe we're going to see what it's all about this weekend in Vegas. And if it goes bad, I'm telling you folks, there's going to be a lot of people in the NASCAR Cup garage shaking their heads and wondering, how do we mess this up big? But yeah, Ross Chastain starts off the year with a win. Second place is going to be Joey Logano. Logano, horrible year so far. Daytona 500, really competitive, got wrecked out. Atlanta, really competitive, got wrecked out. And he's all the way in the back in points, so he has to start doing really good here these next couple of months, because even though we had Daytona and Atlanta, 2 races under the schedule so far, it's going to at least take 10 to 15 races for Logano to make them point deficit up, because he lost a whole lot of points to your points leader. And He just has to start doing good, and I believe Vegas is going to be the race he does good, and it's statistically one of his better tracks, so I got a good feeling for Logano. The other driver I got in the top three, rounding it out, will be Austin Cindric in the 2 car. Austin Cindric has kind of taken a step forward within the last so many races in the NASCAR Cup Series, and going back to last year in 2023. I realized at the end of last year, Cindric was getting much more competitive, and heading into 2024, he looks pretty good. We got Daytona and Atlanta under our belts. We know that it's a super speedway, but though, I just like how he's doing right now. The last 10 NASCAR races, going back to last year, like I said. So Austin Cindric will finish third, and Ross Chastain, Logano, and Cindric are my top three. My surprise of the race weekend is going to be Chase Briscoe, and my prediction overall is going to be that Ford hits it with the mile-and-a-half program. But Briscoe, he made it real interesting in Atlanta. I believe he had a pair, if you know what I'm saying. He made it 4 wide at the end. 4 wide, that is intense. Not many people expected going into Atlanta to go 3 wide, let alone 4 wide. So we saw history there, and we also saw a really epic finish with Daniel Suarez winning. I'll show y'all after this. But yeah, there you go. My biggest flop is going to be Michael McDowell in the 34 car. I just got a bad feeling about him heading into this race weekend. Time will tell. But now on to Bahrain. Preseason testing is now over, and the real race season starts this Saturday night out in Bahrain. And the driver that I got winning the 2024 Bahrain Grand Prix will be Max Verstappen of Red Bull in the 1 car. Max Verstappen last year cruised easily to his 3rd championship, and I believe he's going to do the same also in 2024, winning his 4th in a row. And I believe Adrian Newey killed it with the design. The car that they got starting off the year is very similar to the Mercedes of last year towards the end of the year, with a little bit of Ferrari involved. And the rumor on the street is that by race 4 and 5, they're going to adapt the zero side pod concept, which Mercedes had at the start of 2023 and back in 2022 also for the full year. They had 1 win of George Russell in Brazil. And that was right there invented by Mike Elliott of Mercedes. And I believe if this works out, which I believe it will, Adrian Newey's an excellent car designer, aerodynamicist. But if this works out, Mercedes fans own Mike Elliott an apology. They really do. But saying that Red Bull is going to dominate with Verstappen on the top step of the podium, Red Bull is also going to have Sergio Perez in the race. He will finish in 2nd place. I believe, as always, he'll start off the year on a very high note. He's going to finish 2nd place. 3rd place is where it's going to get real interesting. This is where the real racing is, because we saw what Ferrari had in the preseason testing, and we also saw where you had a couple of teams sandbagging. You had McLaren, Aston Martin, Mercedes, and I believe after that it's practically wide open, because Alpine's horrible, Stake's horrible, Williams is horrible, RB, I believe they're not good as people make them out to be. And we're just seeing what the grid's like. And the team that I believe that we got to pay attention to is McLaren, but especially for Oscar Piastri. Oscar Piastri is a phenomenal driver. Last year, he started off very rough, and as the year went on, he actually got a lot better and started contending for podiums and also putting a little bit of fire on Lando Norris. And I believe he will finish on the 3rd step of the podium this weekend in Bahrain. And my surprise of the race weekend is going to be Lewis Hamilton. He is not going to win, but I believe a top 5 is very likely. I believe he's going to beat the Ferrari cars out. But talking about my biggest flop, it's going to have to be one of the Ferrari cars, and it's going to be Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc in Bahrain is a bad combination, and I believe this time around it's going to be the same as always, and he's my biggest flop of the race weekend. But what do you think? Comment down below. Have a great day.